And we're live. Thank you for joining us for AI across the product lifecycle. I'm talking to two interesting companies today, both in Israel. I have Adar Hey of Jiga and Or Israel of Bananaz. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and your companies real quick so that people know where you're coming from?
So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bananaz. My background is in mechanical engineering. I was head of engineering and VP of R&D for a medical devices company for about 6 years before founding the company. And I'm actually dealing with CAD world since 2007, like in the development side of things. In Bananaz, we're building an agentic layer that sits on top of CAD software, such as SolidWorks, Creo, and so on. And we help companies to save time and money by creating agents that automate manual tasks and helping them to be way more productive.
Awesome. So you're more on the design side because I think Adar is more on the supply side. So go ahead, Adar.
Right.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So I'm Adar, CEO and the co-founder of Jiga. I am coming from not an engineering background, not a manufacturing background, actually marketing and sales background. And we just set out to solve this problem after we've seen how hard it is to source custom parts and how inefficient it is. And we are building a system that helps companies source parts more efficiently, more reliably. We basically blend within the system relationships with custom parts manufacturers and software and our own operation to help them get parts reliably, on time, etc. And we use a lot of technology on top to help that happen. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, it's good we're talking about agentic stuff. I've got a new sponsor, AWS, and there'll be a URL at the end where you can download their ebook about agentic architectures and best practices. I think there's 15 or 20 experts in the book. I'll put the link in later. So if we look back to 2022 when this whole crazy AI journey started for all of us, what were you guys like skeptical about the possibilities of AI, or are you guys super bullish from day one about AI?
I think when I saw it, I was it was an incredibly impressive moment. I guess for most people, like because we haven't seen anything like that. So definitely got me curious. I think that as time passed, I started seeing people getting, I have been skeptical, especially because the technology wasn't anywhere where it is today. But I have seen the potential where it can go. So I would say a mix. I would say very bullish, but still skeptical about certain hype factors that were there at the time.
Certainly the hallucinations too, right?
Yes.
So and I know you're an engineer like me, so you like determinism. So I suppose it was a bit disquieting because of all the probabilistic aspects of it.
Definitely. I think that, this is a question that me and my brother Ophir, who is my co-founder and our CTO, this is a question that we're talking about like quite a lot. And back in the time, this was like actually like not as new as for the majority of people, because Fear was like working in Amazon, and back in the time they were dealing with LLMs and with AI for years. It's just like wasn't like in the same kind of LLM models that we have in ChatGPT and so on. And if you ask Ophir about that, AI is one solution out of a portfolio of solutions when you're dealing with technology and with like trying solving problems. And where I came from, I tried to solve my own problems. And my problem was that we had inconsistency in reviewing drawings and reviewing models. And in that case, AI is not the best technology to solve these kind of problem. The problem needs 100% of accuracy. you need to be able to go and track changes and make sure that nothing is being overlooked, especially in medical devices. And AI gives us lots of capabilities in various areas, and we have tons of like features that are based on AI. But the core thing that we did like 3 years ago was extracting data from drawings and models. And in that case, that's not the right technology to use. On the other hand, AI could give you so many like value in some other areas in which you could get either insights, suggestion, things that are not deterministic, and therefore it's like an incredible technology that's both like getting so fast, so good. It's like it's kind of crazy. And I think that the capabilities are and the pace of development becomes like significant. I think that's something that we feel that is super helpful.
Yeah, in fact, that segues into our next question, which is, how has AI changed the way you guys develop software, Adar? So I suppose like everybody else, you've been using a Cursor or Cloud Code or whatever, but how is how has AI influenced the way you Jiga is developing software?
I think that AI is a fundamental change in just how products are being used. Because suddenly, like software is not necessarily only a tool for humans to use; it's actually a means to get work done, right? So that changes your whole perspective on how you build products, and whether even like you need all your product to be in the same. I think like behind the same login screen, right? Um, so who said that the product should be somewhere? It could be served to you wherever you want it to be served, right? So suddenly, like you start speaking in outcomes and less about features and less about seats and more about consumption. Um, so when we're thinking about the product and how we build the product, that becomes a core thing we're thinking of is like, how can we deliver outcomes, not necessarily even have the users use the product, right? If like eventually they have a certain goal in their life. If we can help achieve their goals with even less, I don't know, clicks or time or logins or whatever, that's a good thing, right? If they can stay with their email or with whatever they're using and just have that work get done in the background, that's a good thing. So suddenly you change your whole perspective on how products are getting built, and that influences our product decisions for sure.
Or I suppose everybody in Bananas must be on Cloud Code by now.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's up until like the secretary here. It's like everybody's like in actually in Cloud Code. And I think that it affects not only the product and the R&D, which for us it's like kind of the obvious. Like it's something that that is getting better and better like every day, and it's like across the whole platform and whole development chain. But I think that you could get lots of value also in the interoperability between the different teams, which is kind of amazing. Like like how fast you can get feedback from customers and create features out of that and let them try that and understand what's interesting for them and what's not. And now all of the cycle of development becomes both like sharper but way faster. We can see that like in the last 2.5 years, things were like it's escalated like I think at least 5 to 10 times. And you could see that when you create the software and get like feedbacks, like in startup world, you want to go and try stuff and then like get the feedback and iterate fast. Now you could see that there are like deployments 2 or 3 times a week, which is it's phenomenal. So yeah, I think that Claude and before Claude there was like Cursor, and it's like shifts all the time. This is like one of the things that we see and understand that it is not only like the type of software. Every once in a while there's gonna be like a newer model that's gonna give you better results. We do it like in these two layers. One of them is to go and take this like kind of mentality and attitude and make it like the company's DNA, that you need to go and find the best tools and implement it in every like process in the organization. But on the other hand, it also like affects, as Adar said, on the customer experience and the experience that you want to bring to the customers, that they would feel the same kind of experience that programmers has, but in their like ecosystem and space. So we want them to be able to choose the latest models and to be able to go and improve together with the big models like providers, OpenAI, and so on.
So like it makes me want to ask, like, how are you managing it for a cost point of view? Because I built stuff with Cloud Code, and I don't know how much money I've spent, maybe 400 or 500 euros this month already on just trying to update my website and stuff. How do you guys manage that? Because if you've got a whole team of developers that are spending $1,500 a month, your burn rate is going to be rather high, isn't it, as a startup? I mean, your cost between the cloud cost to AWS and Azure where you're hosting or wherever, plus the Anthropic cost, how do you keep that down?
I mean, the savings are just like when I'm looking at costs, I'm usually looking at what's the alternative and what's the opportunity cost. I'm not necessarily just looking at it from a cost perspective. And I think what you can achieve with the same amount of humans, right, is so phenomenal just by paying those credits. So every person on our team, not necessarily the developer, but everyone has their cloud account, and they have their ability to spend. If they're asking for more credits, they get it instantly. So the way I'm thinking about it is like as they're using it, they're just deploying work at their fingertips that is hopefully like high quality work, and it is much cheaper than hiring additional humans, for example. So yeah, my perspective here is that the ROI is phenomenal, and not necessarily as only the cost side of it.
Yeah. And so do you have agents showing up for your Scrum meetings at Bananas?
Definitely. No, I completely agree with that. It's like the ROI is like no brainer, like for every position, not only like the developers, every position that you have in the company, you need to think heavily if you want it to be like a new hire, or you want it to be a combination of agents and team members to be more effective. You could see that with way smaller team, you could achieve way more because the communication between people becomes like the bottleneck, and not their productivity in creating code or creating their like kind of work. You want to have more experienced people that could deliver more in like using agents and using the latest tools. I think that this is also something that we are trying to like sell to our customers as well, right? Like in our case, at the beginning of the road, selling productivity and selling them that they could do more and they could eliminate manual tasks. This was a challenge. Like when I went to my first fundraise, like Cloud Code was only like, maybe like in the lab, but we wanted to do that. We wanted to make the engineers more productive. And it is changing the way that people consume their products, right? It's not only like SaaS, but it's also based on tokens and consumption. And this kind of shift of a mindset, for us at least, it's super helpful. It helps to educate the market towards like how things are being done in like 26. So
It seems it's just changing so quickly. I wonder too, in terms of the actual product. So Jiga and Bananaz, where's AI sitting? I suppose particularly with Bananas, you have a copilot, so AI is right there in the user interface right away. But I suppose it must be permeating through other parts of the stack. Where does AI sit? Is it part of the DNA of the product? Is it maybe the thing of having a foundational model? or is it just on the user interface? So I wanted to ask both of you guys where AI sits in your stack, basically.
So in our software, it's basically embedded in many areas. It starts from the user experience using the chatbot, because eventually you want to talk with your design and you want to be able to go and use your queries. But we also use lots of agents that goes and perform tasks for the engineers and run and uses different algorithms and tools to solve unique problems that AI is not the best solution. Like in some cases, AI is phenomenal. Finding information, getting lots of data, and give you precise answers. Go search over the internet and find like standards or parts or anything like that. This could be the technology that will do. Everything that based on text, obviously, is something that is that AI is phenomenal at. But sometimes, as we said earlier, you want to be precise, and then you need to go and run agents to perform tasks either in other systems, other algorithms, and it's basically a combination of both.
Adar, is it same with Jiga, or maybe it's slightly different?
So Jiga, because so again, because we are delivering the work, we're delivering parts, so it's fundamentally like a service that is enabled by AI in many ways. So we're thinking about it from perspective of like um, our customers want the business outcome, they want the parts, they want the high quality, good lead times, like cost can be a major consideration, and of course like wasting as little time and attention on doing so. And so if thinking about AI is like means to get to these results, right? So there are many places in the sourcing of custom parts process that is high friction, that is highly inefficient. Like there things can go wrong. So we're trying to put AI where it matters to these outcomes, right? So for example, like identifying a potential delay or identifying a documentation miss and fixing it on the spot without even the customer knowing, right? It delivers better outcomes to the customer, or matching a need to a supplier in a better way can reduce costs and can get better lead times and capacity, right? So these types of specific use cases where they directly tie to business value is where we want to plug AI. And sometimes it's customer facing, sometimes it's supplier facing, sometimes it's team facing, right? But the overall arch there is how do we become better partners for our customers?
And in both cases, are you guys leveraging one of the off the shelf, the OpenAI, Anthropic, whatever, or are you guys using some of the open source models like Quinn or Nematron or some mix of the two? Because obviously you need to. Well, I think the question is going to come up more and more. How do you deal with the ongoing cost to the customer of the tokens they're using, right? If you give them unlimited, then you're going to go broke because your bill to Anthropic would be massive. So how are you dealing with that to make it useful and yet not breaking the bank and having to ask for more funding every 3 minutes because you just you can't even pay your Anthropic bill?
Yes. So our kind of calculation is whether our customers are we're giving them value, and we look at how much value we get from them, like how much valuable are they for Jiga as a business. And I think the same, I would say maybe the same answer like or like on the team applies here in terms of like cost, because if we eventually see the retention that comes from customer expansion that comes from customers, so and the value we give them by or even give to ourselves by not having to put humans to validate things or to have less errors or have worse customer experience. As again, the cost is negligible compared to what we used to do, and we have a good benchmark. Like we used to do things a certain way, and now we suddenly have a new way of things. to do. And yes, credits are they cost, but compared to what they used to cost to us, it's negligible, at least for us.
Can a user bring their own OpenAI or Anthropic key, or you're managing all of the AI on your end?
But we manage our own AI, and we connect to the known LLMs.
Okay. And is that the same for Bananas?
Actually, I'll split the answer into two. So for the one that you just said, we allow people to bring their own models and to connect with their own keys. We have like two different motions of companies that we're working with. We're working with Fortune 500 companies in which this kind of bring your own model or your own uh, like contract with the big vendors is something that is pretty common. And there are like the motion of mid-sized enterprises in which they are asking to get everything from you. So we provide like both options. And in the matter of the usage base, I think that's an important one. Like especially as of today's price of tokens and how fast tokens could disappear. Um, I would go and say like repeat on what Adar said. Eventually, you want to be able to go and save money for the company, so it will be a no-brainer. So for us, for example, if to create a red-time report costs I don't know, an hour of an engineer, which costs about I don't know $60-$70, and we could provide the same kind of value in 50 cents, it becomes a no-brainer. And then like people like they want to pay the money because eventually it saves them time, and this is the kind of impact that we have in such cases. Together with that we created our own LLM readable formats that makes the process of using the tokens way more effective. So it's analyzing of an image, it's costly, right? Like the formats are costly and it's very expensive to go and use that. But when we create our own formats, it's become relatively cheap because we know how to index that in a way that it will be effective with the LLMs.
Maybe another way of asking the question is, what about security, right? Because another issue with the open LLMs is, of course, they're training on everything you give them, whether they tell you that or not. Remember, Anthropic had lied to us in the beginning, saying they were never going to do it, and actually they were doing it, and they had to admit it. So how, if you're using the commercial ones, how are you guaranteeing that the customer proprietary, the IP, is not leaking into the open source stuff?
So first of all, we are not moving all the information to the LLMs as is. I think that making encryptions and providing all the relevant data, this is the key to make sure that you're staying with the security of your customer. I think that's like our number one priority. So when you provide text without the context, without the image, then basically it's like worthless for the LM without the context of the image. And when you split it into two, you get like way higher security in that aspect. In our case, we are SOC 2 certified since day one. We like put lots of efforts on the processes and making sure that everything is highly secured. Just because our like initial customers were very big enterprises, and we had to stand within these kind of requirements. And actually, recently we started also collaborating with ITAR companies. So security is only getting better and better, and the compliance needs to follow. And yeah, I think that's critical when you're dealing with companies' IPs, drawings, models, and so on. It's like should be like in the like highest priority.
Adar, do you have anything to add?
No, I would. I would add to Orzal said that security is becoming a bigger challenge as more people have access to these tools, and the attacks can be more sophisticated, right? Because these tools basically integrated with many things, and they have external files and skills and stuff like that. And it becomes way more comfortable to share information with them, because it adds so much value. So it's of course you need to take security very seriously, especially in our world of engineering and manufacturing, where there's a lot of proprietary information, right? There's a lot of files of customers that you need to deal with, and sometimes these files, like, you're signing non-disclosure agreements, and these files are not. You don't want them to get leaked. That can become a national security issue in some cases. So you need to take security very seriously and put those measures in place.
Yeah, I think that one of the issues we have is that we all started using MCP, but MCP had no traceability and almost no authentication, right? Um, uh, so we've talked about how AI was used in the development process and how it's in your stack. Um, we've now 4 years down the road from the inception of OpenAI and ChatGPT and all this stuff. Are you guys as skeptical as you were, or as bullish as you were back in 2022? I mean, how's your perception of AI changed as AI has been evolving over the last 4 years?
I think the way it evolved is quite phenomenal, right? I don't think anyone has expected this for us to be here. Like, it looks like fiction. If
Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah,
right?
if you took me like a few years ago and you told me like what we're capable of doing right now, like the magnitude of what you can achieve with just some prompts, right, is pretty amazing. So I mean, I think everyone's, even the most skeptical ones are getting convinced right now that there's something real here. And I think the question that's shifting is, for me at least, is not whether there is something real, is like how we can be at the forefront and how we can utilize it the best way possible. Because the fact that you have those capabilities and leveraging those capabilities is a very different question. So that's where my mind's at, and I think many people are thinking this way. The possibilities are so big.
There's a really good question in the chat from Sushil Kumar, and I think Adar would be good for you to pick this on first, at least. Sushil asks, as AI copilots start influencing design decisions and sourcing choices, how do you see ownership and protection of IP evolving, especially when designs are partially AI generated and supplier informed? How do you see ownership and protection of IP evolving, especially when designs are partially AI generated and supplier informed?
Right. So yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think as AI influences the design decisions, I would say, like, and it's not only unique to engineering, right? There's like creation is becoming something that is a collaborative nature of AI and humans, right? I think that as we go further and further, there will be less and less creations that are solely humans, right? So we all have to get used to the fact that our IP is basically something that we co-created with AI co-pilots and not necessarily like our own brains. And we kind of think, the way I think of it is like we have a second brain almost, right? That is living in our LLM, and it already has a lot of context about us and our preferences and what we like and the way we work with them. So I think the way I look at it is like the way our us humans are still at least good at judgment, right? We're still very, like, I think that as we go, judgment becomes a very critical factor, and the IP here is basically like the human gave the judgment on creating this thing together with AI, right? But eventually the IP is the humans, because they created it and they signed off on it. So that's at least the way I see it, because you can almost not distinct between something that's solely a human made. I don't think it's maybe even a relevant question anymore, to something that's co-created with AI. even if it's like just the human gave a prompt and the AI gave it an answer, the human made it their own.
I think my daughter was telling me that something like 60 or 70% of the content on Spotify is all AI, which is just an astounding number, right? Or do you have anything to add to that AI question or the question about bullishness going forward?
I just think that of this notion of AI is, at least for the market that we're living in, it is a very strong boost. Because if you think about it, and you have like the perspective and the experience from 30 years in this world and in this industrial manufacturing kind of sector. It used to be very, very slow in the matter of adoption and in the matter of innovation in the side of the software, at least like at the adoption of companies and their ability to postpone like new software and development. And I think that because of AI and due to AI, we see lots of opportunities. And that companies started realizing that they need to move fast because everything moves fast. And I like, at least how I see it, I meet lots of companies that they have AI initiatives for the company led by the CEOs. And lots of people, they really want to make a change. They want to change the way that they're working right now. So I think that it's not only the tactical way of how it is going to help and solve like issues, it also shifts the whole industry in towards like a more receptive kind of vibe. And I think that's amazing for the industry.
I think so too. Um, I also like to ask at this point in the conversation, um, what advice do you have to the younger people in the audience that are worried that AI is going to steal their job, right?
um, so AI is phenomenal. It's only going to get better and better. And I think that the people that are using AI and know how to take the most out of it are the ones that are going to lead the next generation of positions. So at least when we're dealing with tasks that are manual and we automate them, obviously it's makeshift. Like marking up red lines, I had like 30 mechanical engineers in my former position. And some of the people, the majority of their jobs was to verify that the changes that were documented between two drawings were corrected before submitting it to the FDA. Now, obviously, that's becomes like an obsolete because it's like you cannot defeat a computer doing that, obviously. And what people like are gonna do is like the more interesting stuff, like creation or like being able to do like physical tests or create more and develop more. So I think that people are gonna make a transition into um like the cherry on top kind of work. And I think that for junior engineers that are now looking to see how they're gonna go in and work in the next generation of positions, they need to take a look on the industry. They need to understand where things are headed to, and they need to adjust. They have a smart young brain, and I'm sure that they're gonna understand where are the trends and how to take leverage of that.
So, do you have anything to
Generations
add,
have-
Adam?
I think the younger generations have a massive advantage, actually. Like they didn't spend many years perfecting a certain skill, and they actually have somewhat of a clean slate in many ways to think in a way that the industry is rethinking itself. Um, so I would say, like, if I were to in the beginning of my career, I would definitely take advantage of that and learn these tools and perfect how to use them, because there's definitely like there's a learning gap, right? Not everyone is like operating the same way, and the second thing is like develop a good judgment and taste, because that's I think for the foreseeable future and not going away, still humans are controlling the output. So if you let an LLM and run 10 scenarios and you pick the right scenario and you tell them exactly what you need changing, that's not going away to understand professionalism. So that's why like the top engineers are just becoming like better engineers, and the top designers are becoming better designers, because that thing, that taste, that understanding of what's good and what's not is not going away. So you think of it like a chef in a restaurant, like they're not necessarily cooking, but they know what a good dish looks like and how to change the dish to make it a little bit better. So developing the taste in your profession is a very important thing, and I would look at it as an opportunity, not necessarily as something that you want to be scared of, but actually like something that you can be excited about.
It's a really unique answer, Adar. Thanks. I usually get fundamentals, math, physics. That was a really cool way of looking at it. I appreciate that. Um, Before we close out this section and we go on to digital maturity, I just have one last one for you, a kind of fun one. Have we hit the OpenAI moment for engineering? Or is it 6 months away? Is it 2 years away? I mean, when do you, because I mean, there was an OpenAI moment for AI, right? I mean, there's a before and an after. When are we going to see that in engineering, you think?
Um, so when you say OpenAI moment for engineering, what exactly like do you refer to?
Well, the way we used to work and where they work now, the pivot, a
Right.
moment when nothing is the same. I mean, after OpenAI, nothing is the same, right? Everybody's life changed forever. So when is the engineer's life going to change? Fundamentally, where the way we do engineering will be different. Uh, I don't think we've changed. I don't think that's changed yet.
Yeah.
I ask also because I was at Prove It, which is a manufacturing conference, and I saw them deploying entire factories for looking at the sensors in less than 3 minutes. And I said, that's an OpenAI moment. I mean, it used to take 6 months to a year with all these sensors, and half the sensors, of course, you couldn't read them anyway. Now they can deploy that like that and have the entire visibility from top to the bottom of the factory instantaneously. That's an OpenAI moment. So when for engineering will we see that pivot change,
Yeah.
was it a
Yeah.
pivot point? Wha
Right. So when I think about a major fundamental shift like the internet, like it took a while since the internet started to the whole ways for people to change how they work, how they do things. Like new companies started, like that shift took years until humans even got to use and understand uh, the
the implications.
the implications and how what you can do with it. And I think so for certain use cases, it takes more time, like engineering, construction, like things in the physical spaces. Just companies and use cases and tools can be built around even the existing capability. Right? Even if AI want to get better, and it will get better, I think in like creating a CAD design is like we see some start of it with Opus 4.7. Suddenly you can
Yeah.
get pretty impressive things, but of course there's a long way to go. So I think even without that, the models shifting and getting better, I think that just the adoption and people starting to understand how to do things, it's going to take a while, even when the technology is evolving in such a rapid pace.
Thanks, Adar. Or maybe same kind of question, but maybe is it can be CAD as code that's gonna change it? Once we can get the 3D geometry as a textual thing that an LM can read, is that the big change that's gonna shift it? Or do you see it somewhere else?
I think that the trend already started, and like the difference is in the adoption. OpenAI is like a B2C kind of product, right? Like you could use it like on your own computer, trying to understand how it works. In our world, it is B2B world, and you need to go through the company in order to get into the real problems and the real data. And it moves slower than the open AIs, but I think that we are already there. I think that with some of the companies that we are working with, you could already see like the trend, the motion, and the impact, and you could understand like how scalable this could be. And if to be like you, I'm an optimistic, so this is why I'm a founder of a company. I wish to say like 2026, maybe like beginning of 2027 would be like the time that we are gonna see like a significant use cases of a huge impact.
Awesome. So the last section I like to talk about is concerning digital maturity and of the customers that are using your software. Um, I think there's a global feeling around engineers that the big software companies, the big dominators on the market, are not necessarily delivering the goods on AI. They're a bit slow on adoption, and so customers are a bit frustrated. And I think when you look at digital maturity, I think of companies being on a scale of 1 to 5, right? 1, they're still using Excel and email for almost everything. 5 would be fully agentic, autonomous, adaptive digital twins. Nobody's at 5. Maybe some pieces of SpaceX or Tesla, maybe, but even then, the rest of the company is definitely not at 5. Um, how do you assess your companies when you start talking to your customers? Do you feel that they're closer to 1, closer to 3? I mean, where would you put them before they start using Bananaz or Jiga?
I would say somewhere between 2 to 3. That's
That high?
that's the type of companies that we usually try to find as design partners. I think that this is also an indicator of a company that helps to get the software and get the value from the software. When a company has one, it is very difficult to go and sell them the product because they can't even digest what they have in their hands. So that's like the type of companies that we are looking. 4 and 5, that's for companies that are startups, or as you said, companies that are relatively small. Usually it's for us, it's not exactly the ICP right now. We are targeting companies that are large, so this is the type of the optimum, getting them at least at 2 or 3 and being a big company, or at least a part of a big company.
How about for Jiga?
Yeah, I would say same. Like 2 to 3 is a good sweet spot. Like so, same answer.
Okay. And then the second part is my theory is that when customers start using really awesome software like Jiga or Bananas, that moves the needle, right? That it moves the bar towards the right. And perhaps ideally the parts of the organization that are not using Jig or Banana see that, oh my God, if I was using AI correctly, if I had broke the barriers between manufacturing and supply chain and engineering and manufacturing, I'd get this incredible boost in productivity, time to market, profitability, quality, and so forth. Are you seeing that already? Are you seeing that when people adopt Jiga and Bananas, that there's this epiphany on the part of the management, like, oh my God, if we just did things correctly, and we we got into the 21st century on our infrastructure, our architecture, our thinking, we'd have these enormous gains.
Definitely. I think that this is like one of the ways that we make ourselves. Like, it's not only to provide the value, but also help the management uh to appreciate that and see that. It's like it's two separate ways. One is to calculate the return on investment and make sure that they see that it is significant, but also understand how impactful it is for their businesses. Sometimes these kind of things, especially in engineering, it takes time because you can see immediate value, but in order to actually appreciate that, you need to go and create a full engineering change order process or a quarterly process. You need to understand how it is affecting the different departments and the whole development cycle. Eventually, the development cycle takes time. There is manufacturing. There are suppliers that needs to go and like build the either in the manufacturing process of the parts or the assemblies. But eventually, it's a loop. Eventually, you get into a process that you understand, and you could quantify how much time you were able to save in the time to market.
Very cool. And similar idea when people are starting to use Jiga?
Um, so for us, it's I think about this from the perspective of like habits in general, like building habits, um, and uh, and it's very hard to change. Like just in general, changing how you work and how you do things is hard. Um, and there are ways to build habits that if you introduce something that is very disruptive or changes how you do things in a very strong way, that you will just go back to your defaults, even if it's like, even if the all the logical explanation is there. Sometimes you still go back to your default just because it's the default, and it's hard to drive change. It's hard to start working out, right? It's hard to
Sort of
do these
hard
things.
coded in your brain already, right?
Yes, exactly. Like so as you understand like how our brains work and our brains build habits in general, like um so we try to work according to that, and that means, for example, like starting gradually, like doing things, having creating small wins before like creating the larger wins, for example, or making it as easy and seamless as possible, or attaching where you can to how things are used to be, and just not having necessarily the ambition to radically change how people do things, but kind of blend into how they do things where it's possible, and deliver value there. So like this type of stuff, they create a much easier way to adoption, and then people start as they get into that habit loop, and these doses of dopamine from winning, for example, like they would expand their usage, and they would just build from there.
That's awesome because I think that it's important to find those ways of accelerating innovation and showing that, you don't have to buy from the big three in order to get the big gains. You can get the big gains at the startups. I've done looked at the market, and I've seen talked to lots of founders, and of the 600 startups I've talked to, I can show that they're implanted in 1,500 different companies, which is pretty astounding, right? The adoption rate. Um, that's coming towards the end of the call. I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts about bananas, about AI, about Giga, before we say goodbye.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great discussion. I appreciate the candid answers, and it's exciting to see what you guys are doing, and it's so courageous, and it's not easy right now. Um, I hope that hope to see you guys hopefully at a Threaded conference in the future. Hopefully we'll have one in Munich. That's not too far away, right? Sometime in the fall, and maybe I'm looking at maybe Denver. Something maybe in the United States towards the end of the year. Um, so once again, thank you very much to my guests. Thank you to AWS, our sponsor. You'll see a link in the comment. Please click on it and download the white paper when you get a chance. And we'll talk to you the next time. I think the next time we're going to talk about virtual reality. I'll have Gravity Sketch and Campfire. So it's to be really interesting to see how virtual reality is coming into engineering and changing the way we do stuff. So once again, thank you very much, Or and Adar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. And if somebody is coming to either the user group of PTC in Vegas next week,
But yeah, I was going to say,
it's like we
okay.
have a booth there, so come and jump, say hi. I think it's a very good way to start both making collaborations and discussions about AI and about how you utilize that in the organizations. You'll be able also to see our product, and we are running like live demonstrations there. Same goes about hardware FYI conference
Oh, those guys,
in
yeah.
San Francisco, which is held in second week of May, or IMTS in
It's
Chicago in
Chicago.
September.
Chicago in September, yeah. Adar, where can we see you and Chiga?
There is a Boston Robotics Conference coming up.
Nice.
We'll be there, and then yeah, potentially IMTS as well. We'll see.
Okay. Well, great. I look forward to meeting you guys in person one of these days. Take care, be safe, and for the audience, thank you for joining, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.